Today we're going to talk a little bit about the Astronomer Activity Badge for Scouts. There are two slides worth of requirements here. We're going to go through them all. But before we start, I'd like to mention that there are ways to acquire sort of steps towards your Chief Scout Gold Award by doing the Astronomer Badge, specifically with things like the creation of the model here on the third point. If you make it out of recycled materials specifically, then it counts towards your Scouts Creative Challenge Award, which is obviously part of your Chief Scouts Gold Award. That's the only link that I can find from what I've seen so far towards this Chief Scouts Gold Award, but there are other awards you can get additionally while doing this. By building a telescope or building a model, you can also earn towards your craft badge, which is essentially a free badge just from making something. So if you are intending on running this as a knight, or if you are a scout looking to get some more badges, then doing a model is part of the astronomer badge, but also count towards that too. So let's go through the requirements together. Show what you know about a night sky and why the patterns of stars change night by night throughout the year. This is relatively simple. It's to do with the Earth's rotation around the Sun and how its angle changes. And you'll figure that out on the night. Learn the meaning of the following terms. It's worth mentioning that you can link this into a number of different things if you are a leader. Obviously, things like equator and poles mean things for celestial bodies in the sky, but they also apply to the Earth. And you can learn a little bit about the equator and how compasses work potentially from poles and this part of the night. The Zodiac, that could be quite an interesting link to things like the Scottish Zodiac Award scheme, which personally I believe should be able to be earned by any scout, not just Scottish Scouts. So feel free to do with that as you'd like. Number 3 here, build a model of the solar system using everyday materials found in the home, such as different size fruits or a sports ball. Essentially, this is one way of doing things where if you have a bunch of different balls, play objects within the scout hut, you can take those out and make a scale model. Although in reality, as I said, you want to be doing this with recycled materials specifically, just so you can get close to that Chief Scout Gold Award. Further on, we have explained how the moon affects the tides. This could actually tie in a little bit with nautical skills, which is a staged badge in Scouts, and you could do a little bit of the requirements for the tides in relation to those various different nautical activity badges. At the very bottom here, we have built a telescope with 2 cardboard tubes or 2 A4 pieces of black card and lenses. Compare what you can see through a telescope and what you can see with a naked eye. The main part of this is about comparing with the naked eye. There are things, for example, on the moon that you can see with the naked eye, certain large craters, but there's certain ones you can't see without a telescope, which is an obvious one there. Of course, there are other things as well. The Seven Sisters Nebula is a good example where oftentimes you can't see all 7 of the stars that form up that nebula. One thing I'd also like to mention here before we move on is that if you are attempting to do the activities of this badge as part of a night or at home, do try and get away from the lights of like street lights and things like that. At the easiest, go to like a park or something. But I'd advise really going to some kind of hill and doing a little bit of a night hike somewhere. Given you're scouts, you should be able to do that relatively safely. And if you go to even just like 20 minutes outside of a town centre or something, you'll tend to have a much better experience with seeing the night sky than otherwise. Moving on to the next set of slides, we have the following. A very interesting one which I'm going to mention at the very top there is observe 3 constellations on a clear night and record what you saw. I would advise finding Orion's Belt and the Big Dipper, because these are ways, if you go from the Big Dipper to the North Star, it's quite easy to find the North Star. And Orion's Belt, generally you can relate that to, I believe, south quite easily, depending on where you are in the world, whether it's north or southern hemisphere. But the point of what I'm getting at is, if you choose constellations that help you find north, then this actually counts towards one of the highest elements of the Navigator stage badge, which is one of the harder and more important badges to get as part of your time in scouting, and it stays with you until you become an adult, actually. So being able to navigate at night without a compass is a brilliant scouting skill. Moving on, we have read a star map using a compass and a red light. I will leave that to you to figure out, but red light is a way to not spoil your night vision, and most head torches have these. If you don't have many red lights, then I'd advise looking at a stock of different head torches, as they tend to have a second option in there for a red light. The difference between star map and normal map I'll leave to you to sort of explore. I'm not going to give you the answers here for that. And finally, we have learned how to identify a satellite, how to take it apart from an airplane, star, planet, meteor. In case you're a leader watching this, basically, airplanes have strobes on the wings, which are red and green. That's an easy way to tell if it's an airplane because you'll see it flashing to different colours. Stars obviously don't move very much. They just sort of tend to hang there, unlike the rest of these. Planets, obviously, they tend to not move on a night by night basis, but they're much more obvious than stars because they glow more brightly, uh, and they seem to be of a larger size in the night sky. And meteors obviously have trails usually and are much more fleeting to see. I would advise actually, if you are running this badge, to try and look up the calendars for meteor showers, because meteor showers actually happen more often than you think. And if you manage to line this up with a meteor shower, I can guarantee you it's going to be one of the best things in scouting they've done. So definitely try and do that if you can. And it says here at the bottom, then complete these activities as well, just to finish it off. Identify a satellite to observe. I would go for the International Space Station. There's plenty of trackers online about where that is in the night sky at any given point. It's a very good way of linking this in with um, the other badges that are related to Astronomer, like, for example, Astronautics, which is another badge that's heavily related to this. Um, so feel free to do that one. Choose a clear night and use a clock and compass to help you observe the satellite. This is to do with finding the speed of it and things like that, which can be quite interesting because they move very quickly to satellites. And finally, we have plan an evening with your scout group and teach others how to observe the satellite. This can actually go towards your Team Leader Challenge Award, which is one of the more difficult ones to get on your way to the Chief Scout's Gold Award. Leading a night is one of the best ways of doing that. And additionally, as added bonus, it actually goes towards your U-Shape Award, I believe, for leading. And U-Shape Awards are, one of the newer, more flashy awards out there to do with being a youth leader and making changes and making a difference in your local scouting community. That's been the Astronomer Activity Badge for Scouts. I hope that's been useful. Thank you.